Cool, we have just come out of the Berluti Autumn Winter 19 show. Particularly interesting this season because it's Kris van Assche's first runway show under the House of Berluti. So he was previously at Dior for about 10 years, give or take, and there was a bit of an awkward changing of the guard with lots of people coming in and moving around, and Haida was previously at Berluti, Haida Ackerman I should say. So particularly interesting show because it's the first time we've properly seen Kris's work for the house. There's been a few lookbooks and such over September-November period, but this is the first runway presentation. We were given a wooden block. I don't have it with me because it's kind of obnoxiously mal-coordinated to carry. It was just a wooden block that said Berluti on it, which wasn't the invite. It just came with the invite, rather oddly. Everyone's been thinking about what it was, brick or paperweight, whatever. So that was a bit odd, but I think it's something to do with the fact that Berluti is a shoewear brand at its core, and my assumption is that the wooden block is something to do with making shoes, but that's just a hunch. So we get to the show, and it's in very grand location. I can't remember what it's called. The Grand
Palais Garnier.
Palais Garnier. Quite right. Yes, very gilded, very luxury, and Berluti is known for being incredibly luxurious. It's super high-end luxury menswear. It's the only brand at LVMH that is entirely menswear only. So it's a kind of the menswear jewel of LVMH. It's a prized position. So you could say there's quite a lot of pressure on Kris van Assche today. Also, he was saying in a Vogue article that I actually read a little bit earlier, a pre-show interview, that, and he also said this backstage, that with Dior, and often when you move to a new house, you can tap into the house codes. Often what they do is they open the archive and they start digging, and they're looking at what the original brand creator started with, or how can I be true to the house while bringing in my own flair. But with Berluti, as I said, it's a shoewear brand at its core, so Kris had to slightly rethink his approach to beginning this collection and looking at shoes, looking at going to the factories, how are the shoes made, and finding interest and finding house codes in that, which is quite an interesting approach, and with mixed results, I would say. So lots of tailoring, as you would expect with Berluti, lots of long line, I think double-breasted coats, formality definitely at the core, but a few nods to the shoemakers. The first look was all brown leather, almost as if you'd just taken the leather from the brogues and put it as the material for the suit. I would say that was a mixed look. The tailoring and cut was really beautiful, but the actual material looked a bit beefy to me. And also lots of beautiful trim shapes, lots of wonderful trousers, particularly stunning looks, and materials came in purpley rich regal tones. Lots of luxurious blazers you want to touch, you really want to rub their shoulders. Beautiful materials, almost ink blotted in their patterning, which also ties into this ink blotting, also ties into another aspect that Kris was looking at. So Berluti man is known for being super luxurious, super high-end, but also having a little bit of sensuality to them, a little bit of rebellion. So Kris was looking at slight motocross elements as well. Trousers with typical racing patterning on them, and Berluti logos in almost racing fonts. These I was less keen on. There's also two huge gold wheels in the middle of the runway, which is a bit of a sign. I take slight problem with the whole theme of motocross being this rebellious act, because to me it's just super hyper stereotypical masculine, and how do I make men seem rebellious and cool? I'm going to put them on a motorbike, and to me I think that's quite an outdated reference for rebellion. And also I just felt a little bit of there was just too much of a juxtaposition between these beautiful shapes, slightly sharper shoulders, purple tones, the richness, polar necks, velveteen hoods, and then motocross trousers and slightly odd leathery hoodies. So a bit of a disconnect there for me. I also couldn't really see the shoes, and for a shoewear brand that's a bit disappointing, but from my vantage point I could kind of see some steps off in the distance, and I could see some sparkle, so I have a feeling there was some steel cap toes, which is really nice to finish a suit. And apparently in Berluti they usually start with the shoes and work their way up. I'm not sure if Kris did that this season, but definitely started with the inspiration of shoe. With mixed results, I would say. Cal, what do you think?
I think the fact that he didn't go back into the archives or didn't have that jumping point to start with was really felt, in terms of it just felt quite all over the place. I am a huge Hyder Ackerman fan. I can't even say his name at the moment.
You're so in love with him.
But so I was always going to be a bit apprehensive about this collection, but I really miss the romance. And if you look at the colours in the 2 or 3 Berluti collections that Hyder did, it's so subtle and romantic and
sumptuous.
Yeah, really, really, you know, even the mottled background that he used 2 seasons ago, you know, compared to the very bright, very obvious, very kind of colour charty colours that were used in this collection, I thought it was a real shame. These buttery leathers that you spoke about were lovely, especially the hoodies I thought were great in this collection. Tailoring was really strong, but lots of the outerwear looked very Balenciaga, same with the motocross references. It just didn't really work for me. And also, I think it is just not having that jumping point, because imagine being kind of locked up in a white room and being told to create something. That's a bit what happens when you go to a house that doesn't have a lot of history.
Yeah.
You know, you're told that there's a customer, but you've got no basis on what that customer likes or doesn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was saying that it's almost like having a blank piece of paper, and
yeah,
that's quite a daunting thing coming from a writer, when you're giving a blank notebook and you're told to write something. That's always the most daunting moment, is putting pen to paper for the first time. So I do agree. I think perhaps, but he's had quite a while to work on it. I think he's had 8 months to familiarise himself with the team.
But he's still speaking, and he's only speaking to the same people again and again and again. So then this is the first time you open the doors, and I think that's a really hard thing about doing your first season. Quite often we see the first 3 seasons not being as good, and you know, getting the run up and testing the waters, and it's a conversation we as press review and designers see that, and then they edit, and then we talk again, and then we have a preview. You know, it's an ongoing conversation. This isn't, you know, we're not just putting things out into the ether for them not to happen. It's a dialogue. So, you know, these things take a while.
For sure. I do think there was some pieces that will do exceptionally well. It's what felt Berluti to us. I think that will do really well, like the really beautifully cut leathers, as you said, the hooded leathers. For me, the inky purple all looks, couples walking together, a female and a male. Those were the strongest. Yeah, but it's the slightly more surface level stuff that I'm not sure will do as well. And also, if you remove that from the collection, if you remove the motocross elements from the collection, or the slightly odd leathery looks that built from shoes, I don't know if I would say that was the highest luxury menswear platform or item.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean? You'd remove them from the luxury of that Berluti blanket. If you take those pieces out of the collection, you would say, oh, what brand is this? Or how much is this?
They don't stand. They
don't stand alone. Yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, so I think a little bit of a amalgam of some really wonderful things, some things we probably could have done without, but an interesting jumping off point, let's say.
Yeah,
and
excited to see more.
Definitely excited to see more. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.